Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes ball. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Cast Rich Hobbs here. It's a bit of a kick in the balls. Moments against Arsenal. I've got Stu and Tom joining me today. How are we both feeling on this crisp Friday evening?
Marginally better than last night. Marginally.
Deflated, maybe.
Yeah. I was going to say we'll try not to be too reactionary, but I think we will. But let's be honest, the European dream's over. It's all going to pot. We'll be back in mid-table mediocrity before we know it, guys. We'll be sensible, but we'll talk about how we felt yesterday because it had a bit of a crap ending. Let's be honest. And it all started so brightly as well. And to be fair, going almost to the starting lineup, I was surprised that it felt like we were going for it. I thought genuinely from the last time we played Arsenal and the fact that we got outnumbered in the middle, I was sure Donk would start and he'd pack that midfield out and make Arsenal work for it a bit more. But he went 3-4-3, which I think, fair play to him. Stu, were you sort of happy with the lineup or were you a bit apprehensive like me to start with?
I was waiting for you to put a screen grab of what I said up, or for some weird reason. No, I think I just said brave for that reason alone. That the fact that we've been playing so well with a three-man midfield, and Dendoncker had been probably in the form of the last 2 years for him. Mm-hmm. And like you said, where he didn't work in the first game, everything he was crying out for a three-man midfield, and probably after about 20 minutes, it was yet again crying out for a three-man midfield. But we'll get into that at the time. I just thought it weird, just really weird. Why you do the same, repeat something that didn't work in the first place again, when we'd kind of fell into a formation that was working perfectly fine. I was just baffling. But in a kind of weird way, excited because I thought, well, he's actually going to take the game to him. But,
yeah, Tom, how about you? I think sort of the change from the first time we played from like 2 weeks ago. I think it was, I thought that sort of, I could get it because he's a bit more relentless. He puts himself about a bit more than Trincao, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was expecting, like Stu, I was expecting a three-man midfield, I must admit. But I don't know, he's obviously seen something in Arsenal, hasn't he? Or his team have seen something in Arsenal where he thinks that 3-4-3 is the way to go. Maybe for 20 minutes, maybe, he was right. But whether it was a mentality sort of shift or it was actually the system, I don't know. But yeah, obviously, as the game wore on, became less and less sort of functional in that system, and something needed to change, I think.
Yeah, I think so that first 20 minutes was electric. It started with, in fact, the first 20 seconds with a penalty claim for Arsenal. We're having a section dedicated to refereeing in a bit, so we'll park out the overarching Martin Atkinson shit show. But any shouts for a penalty there?
No, not at all. I mean, last year, the year before, maybe, but not now. So just the fact that they kind of just brushed over it straight away summed up what I was thinking at the time. That you got no way, you got no chance. But it's Arsenal fans being Arsenal fans, appealing for every single thing possible from the off.
Yeah, victim syndrome, classic.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, I think we've got a question in Twitter Corner specifically about Arsenal fans / Arsenal Twitter as well. We've already shared our views offline, which probably going to be slightly watered down is what I'd say. But One
It was
thing
scary. One thing was scary. I think it was scary that we had kickoff and it took them 20 seconds to get a penalty appeal.
yeah,
It was a bit. Hwang's got this thing. I don't know if anyone else has noticed, in that, especially early days, he does this setback first touch, and the amount of times it's short, it comes from that. I haven't rewatched it, but I'm adamant it came from that, and he does it a lot. He did it against Villa, I think, and it cost him that goal, the second goal against Villa. He's got this little thing where he likes a first time set, and it just doesn't work very often.
Yeah, he did. He did a similar one. I remember him doing another one in the first half as well, where he's got his back to goal, and just his first touch is like about 5 yards in front of him, and just a good team will just take the ball and run with it. But Wolves did keep up their really impressive streak of scoring early, which I think even before Hwang scored, we had an offside goal. This was a really bright start to the game. Yeah, it was about half a foot offside Sace. But again, it showed the intent of Wolves and, the fact that we were going to try and put them on the front foot. And say sort of 10 minutes in, Hwang scores on his first start in, I believe, 4 months. Lovely little bit of teamwork on the press and a ridiculously good finish as well.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think of anyone else at the club taking that kind of chance, because when he's had the chances, he's taken them. And fair fucks to him for taking it on first time as well and not having an extra touch, which he probably did have the time to do. Yeah, really impressive.
I was surprised he hit it as early as he did. I think it was a cracking finish, really. Yeah, really good.
To have that much composure that early on, especially after we just said about his first touch where he constantly loses possession. But going onto that offside goal again, I mean, it'll kind of bleed into the officials. How on earth did that take that long?
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Yeah. Because I was getting more and more excited.
So was I.
Because I think when I saw it live, I thought, okay, he looked offside, didn't he? In normal time. Okay, fair enough. And I think the assistant flagged early, didn't he, as well?
Yeah.
And then you go, hang on, it wasn't like bleedingly obvious. Like it was like, a foot or whatever. And like the longer you go, you're like, am I missing something here? And it would be peak Arsenal if we managed to get that goal, though.
I mean, I thought it might be the one we had at Everton a few years ago, where it was Semedo playing him onside from miles on, or I think it might have even been Doherty back then. Yeah, it probably was Doherty playing him onside when it looked completely off from everywhere else. I thought it might be something like that, like someone we hadn't seen in shot, because it was taking so long. But for the actual graphic came up and it was a good foot offside.
Put the lines up when it was embarrassed when I put those lines up. It was
yeah, it was a bit awkward, wasn't it? But yeah, I mean, of all things Jimenez did yesterday, of which there wasn't a huge lot of greatness, he did really well in that pressing for the goal, because between them, I mean, it came from just a free kick from well inside our own half, which just hooked down the line. But you could see how Jimenez and Hwang almost kind of cut off the channels, and Gabriel should have just knocked it into touch and tries to do the clever thing and knock it back to a goalkeeper without looking where he is. But that's like game plan. Big tick. Step one. Catch them out early, and it worked against Leicester. It worked against Spurs, and it had the hallmarks of working yesterday. My biggest frustration from yesterday isn't actually the missed chances. That I genuinely, I reckon we did enough to get something out of that game, and we'll talk about the back to Jimenez in a second. We didn't do that pressing the rest of the game. For one tactic that worked and got us a goal, we then we'll just drop off now. There's no need to, keep doing it, because this is a team who are, incredibly inconsistent, and, you're able to get at. We just didn't dominate, did we?
I think we've seen that a few times where we don't press all the time anyway. We press when we press it in phases. Like you have 10 minutes here and there, but it never came back again. Like you said, it never came back. I mean, that goal was similar to the one at Molineux against Everton when we forced them into a mistake when Trincao was pressing. And I think it's a tactic that clearly works. And teams can't handle it, especially when you're playing, we've got a front three, and rather than just a two up there, just do it again. But it never, like you said, it never happened again.
I'm not expecting Wolves or frankly any team to press for 90 minutes because the energy levels just don't exist, and you'll get look at Leeds. You'll get picked apart if you do it all game. But and we know how well coached these are. Like they know the exact moment they're looking to do those actions. It's all measured and stuff. But you're telling me we didn't have any other opportunities in that game against that team? Any further? I just don't buy it.
They usually do when it goes out wide, don't they, to the fullbacks, or especially against Spurs. I remember they just swamp them when they're in the corner, and it worked really well against Spurs. And like you say, you'd thought there'd been more opportunities to do that, and obviously that's where our goal came from. Gabriel had it out wide, and they hit the press. So, I say, it's a measured press, isn't it? It's how they coach to do it. But yeah, you'd like to think we had more opportunity than what materialised.
Yeah, and to be fair, I appreciate Arsenal. Right, I call them inconsistent, but they are a good side. Like, they're more than capable of winning games and stuff. It just felt like we showed them a bit too much respect. But I say we still created chances, and I'm pretty sure, I can't remember who posted it on our group chat, Stu, sort of said, we're going to live to regret that Jimenez miss, aren't we? Because I don't think he appreciated how much time and space he had.
Yeah, I think it was Dan who put that in there. It's very, I don't want to get onto him later, but it's very kind of sums him up at the minute that it was so lackadaisical when he got there. It was like, and then like his reaction afterwards, he's sort of like laughing to himself, and you think you'd be fuming, you'd be pounding the ground after something like that, and it was not even close. It was so far wide. You think, what are you doing? What are you playing at?
Completely snatched at it, didn't he? But for me, that was the game. I think that's the moment it became. That could have been Tottenham all over again, and it ended up being a 2-1, defeat. I think that was absolutely huge.
Yeah, because I think at that point of the game, we'd already had a goal disallowed for offside. We'd already scored. We'd had that all within 15 minutes of each other, all within the first 15 minutes. And, you look, I mean, Podence was probably our best player, I'd say, but look how much sort of time and space he had. And to play a ball like that to your centre forward who's in like 5 yards of space between two centre forwards, it doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. But yeah, I don't know whether we thought he didn't have much time. That's frustrating. And I guess the other sort of key incident in the first half, which went a bit missed, again involving Jimenez, the trip by Ben White.
Yeah, shithouse, absolute shithouse.
I didn't even see this until this morning. I didn't notice it when I was watching the game at all.
You can't criticise Atkinson later, then, mate.
No. Well, looking at his positioning for that, I don't blame him for that one anyway.
No.
But then you've got a fourth official right there and a linesman. You can't all miss it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in real time, and I saw Jimenez go down, and I thought it was one of those where
you've just run into each other.
I thought he's run into him, and Jimenez has potentially made the most of it.
Yeah.
Whereas you see it back, and he's just hooked him down. It's shocking. It's so blatant as well. It's not like the ball's anywhere really near them.
And is it good defending? Is it sort of good defending? He knows he's going to get away with it. He stopped a clear run on goal. It pains me to say it, but has he done the right thing ultimately because he's got away with it?
I mean, he's only ever going to get a booking there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he's, I think Jimenez is basically in his own half at that point, so he's not going to be denying a goal scoring opportunity or anything like that. So I did think it was crafty to say the least. And Jimenez, to be fair, had another header. I don't think it was as like the header was like as gilt edge as it might be, but it was still like a really solid effort. That we still manufactured a decent chance. And Semedo, first half, he was electric.
Yeah. My Bolton mate texted me about said, and you've said that people slag Semedo off. And yeah, it's a moot point of this moment in time. It's just forget about it and move on. He said, but he looks superb. Well, he is. He generally has been very, very good. And that cross was, even the one where he almost got a hold of, that Neves, invisible Neves pass again.
Oh,
but if there was just an inch further on the pitch, I mean that would have led to something as well.
Yeah, I thought it was so close to being perfect by Semedo. Then sort of start of the second half, we nearly carved them open with Hwang again, who apparently just has to score from ridiculously tight angles.
He hasn't done much wrong, has he? His movement was fantastic for that. If you watch that back, he's run all across the face of the defence. Pedence obviously, picked him out as we've come to expect from him now. And to be fair, I don't think he's done much wrong. He's put it through. He's put it through his legs. I think it's flicked Ramsdale's leg, hadn't he? And Ramsdale sort of celebrated like he'd scored a goal. But again, that's a big moment as well, isn't it? But like I say, it's hard to be critical of anyone there really because he hasn't done much wrong for me.
Yeah, I don't think Ramsdale really knew what he was doing.
No.
Whatever he thinks. Oh, we talked after the Leicester game how big a shithouse Kasper Schmeichel is and how annoying he can be. Ramsdale's up there. I'm sorry.
He plays off it though, doesn't he? I think he quite likes it. Yeah, there's some people that just get some up and, I remember him turning to the South Bank in the home game and that pissed me off, but this is it. I think
it would have been nice for Hwang to put one past him there because he'd already kind of gone round him once. To do it again in like similar area but the opposite side. Yeah. But
I think he's setting himself up to be the heir apparent to Ben Foster now, in this whole thing. You can see the next 10 years of this with him and Wolves fans. It's going to be quite interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. But it kind of after that chance, it very much felt proper backs to the walls at that point. I mean, nothing was sort of sticking up front. And I think this is going to be one of my questions to you guys. So I thought Donk should have started. He came on later than I expected him to as well. Do you think the issue was the midfield or the fact nothing really stuck up front from about the 50th minute onwards, or a bit of both?
I know Gully's put a Twitter thread out earlier because of the turnaround not doing a GTA this week, but talking about the forwards not doing their jobs and it sticking up there. But when they were so overrun, because you could see after half time, you could see what Arsenal were going to do, and they did it before. They did it in the home game against us. We were just overwhelmed. And when you're completely overwhelmed and you're booting it up front because there's no options in midfield, there's no bodies in midfield, and we've got two players yet how great they are, but one's, as we always say, one is very aging and has got a bit of a thing about him anyway. It was just naive for me. Again, one of the very few mistakes that Lage has made this season where it was screaming out for an extra body in midfield. It was screaming out for it because it's all well and good booting the ball up front saying, oh yeah, we've got three up there. But when it doesn't stick, and like Tom said earlier about Hwang, he doesn't control the ball anyway. But Dempsey's tiny and too small for it to stick to him. So then you let Raul, who's half a man, and he can't do everything on his own. And when there's no one in midfield backing him up, then what's going to happen? It's going to come back over and over again, and which is exactly what happened. I mean, Dendoncker should have been on from 55, 60 minutes for me, and I was amazed when it didn't happen, and when he just let him carry on and on. And it was all right at Spurs because Spurs are shit, but against an Arsenal team with Thomas Partey in midfield, and Odegaard's been hit and miss, but they've got proper talent there. It just seemed naive, and it was just weird why he didn't change it up. So a bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, I did try and play it out from the back, didn't I? And I think sometimes we get stuck, particularly on that left-hand side. I think we try and play the little triangles. It ends up getting back to Sace, and he clips it down the line. And I think, whether it be, to Hwang, Pedence or Raul, it just doesn't stay. I think the triangles are great, but sometimes I do really think sometimes we get stuck on that left-hand side, and that's definitely not a criticism of Sace. I mean, we'll come on to it a bit. I think there's enough to be critical about his performance last night, at least in the last sort of 15, 20. Yeah. But I don't think that possession thing is his fault. I think it's just maybe there was times when Raul wasn't getting in front of his man, but like Stu says, he often he was against 2 or 3 up there, and you can only do so much in that situation.
Yeah, it felt like we lost that numbers game, and for me, I think Martin Odegaard's, it was a standout play in the first game, and again, he was the one who was picking up bits of space, and with Dendoncker, what you get from him, but I've seen it enough times with Dendoncker that he would just happily just run around after Odegaard for half an hour, and if Odegaard had to go off injured, he'd follow him off the pitch and just restrict him and just. Restrict his influence on the game a bit more. And let's say Neves and Martinez, it felt like they were trying to do the jobs of 3 men between the 2 of them a lot of the time. And I don't think Neves and Martinez had amazing games, but I don't think they were awful. It just felt like they were chasing shadows a lot of the time. And there was a couple of points in the second half where Martinez was carrying it forward on the right hand side, and probably the best player I've seen in a Wolves shirt, but it was like watching a canal boat move some of the time in terms of his pace and stuff like that, and to sort of grapple it back, which was frustrating. I think one of the notes I made, I think it was a difference in the subs that, and this is almost probably quite a good opportunity to talk about the ref as well, because I think around the 60th minute mark, pretty much all the bad decisions happened around that point. So we initially had around Nelson Semedo pulled up with a hamstring injury, which the ref didn't warrant stopping play. Now, he doesn't have to, I appreciate, but if he's playing everyone on side by like a good 10 yards, like surely a bit of common sense there.
It's like you said, it's a muscle injury, not a head injury, so he's perfectly within his right. What happened afterwards when them that were trying to force him off the pitch, that was bang out of order. I mean, he could have just turned around him and said no and stopped it straight away. But I mean, Andy texted me at half to put it in our little cage fight, little plug early on, in our group chat about Martin Atkinson. He said, well, he's got to be one of the worst refs in the league. And first off, I didn't think he did much wrong, really. I mean, the clip thing he couldn't see anyway when you look where his position was. So it was off the ball and wherever. But apart from that, I didn't think he did anything. But then the second half, he completely collapsed and he fell for everything from both sides.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, like the Semedo one, I mean, Arsenal trying to drag him off the pitch was a joke. I mean, the guy was playing everyone, 10 yards on side. Do you really think he was capable of moving properly?
It seemed their logic was he's near the touchline so he can go off. But he was also quite clearly injured. That's what I can't get my head around. And like, we've all watched enough football. So yeah, sometimes players go down and Wolves are 1-0 up and we are buying time. We're doing the dark arts, I understand. But he'd very clearly pulled his hamstring. It don't matter if you're playing Sunday League or Premier League. When someone's pulled a hamstring and they can't fucking move. And like, oh, well, just drag him off the pitch. And it's lofty and it's a bit of an arsey thing for me to say, but I'm going to say it because I'm an arse, I'm arsey. 18 months ago, that stadium with pretty much all those players witnessed one of the most horrific injuries on a football pitch. And that's how they react to another professional going down and being injured. Let's drag him off. Get in the bin.
Arteta's there's something I didn't expect when he became manager, because you think, well, he's had the grounding under Pep and the kind of player he was. He was never that kind of dirty bastard, was he? But his teams, I mean, their disciplinary record itself is shocking. I mean, he's just a proper arsehole. And he sends. I mean, he's got into their heads, fair enough, and they get the job done in that way. But you got no respect for him. No respect for that Arsenal side whatsoever.
No. And, I think what might be one of those criticisms that, just play devil's advocate a little bit. I mean, one of those criticisms that always levelled at Arsenal was they didn't have that sort of shithouse mentality, nasty side. Now they've got it. We've been critical for something that, but maybe it's to the extreme. I agree.
It's gone too far the other way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
but to be fair, you are right, and say for years it felt like you could roll over them, and in the first leg against us, they were giving it a big one and stuff like that, and they've got two centre halves who seem to be quite au fait with the dark arts. But yeah, I think the subs kind of changed the game, because obviously Johnny comes on, fantastic to see him back. I'm sure we can all agree.
Yeah,
definitely not match fit though.
Just rusty. He just looked rusty, didn't
he? It looks like it was. I'm not saying he won't ever come back to the levels he was, but it definitely felt like them for him, didn't it?
And he was there on the right as well. When we've seen him on the right twice, I think before, and both times he looked dodgy, and that was when he was fully fit. So I don't think that helped either.
No,
we never used to see him get beat, did you? But we've come to expect that from Semedo as well. I wasn't. Whenever someone's squaring up to him, I'm never really concerned. Whereas Johnny, bless him, I think Saka got the beating of him, sort of 2 or 3 times, in the time that he was on. I'm not knocking the bloke. I mean, to be playing football sort of at this stage after 2 ACLs, impressive. But he was rusty.
Yeah, and to be fair, literally both our subs, Pedro Neto comes on 15 minutes afterwards and looks bright. He has a good chance, which again should have been a corner, given us a goal kick.
It's going in, I think, wasn't it? It's hard. It's very hard to say. It looked like it was going into me.
Yeah. And so you've had the Semedo one, you've had that, which it just seemed odd, and even the Hwang elbow. Now I don't think it's a red card or anything personally, and I don't think the fullbacks did it maliciously, but to not even stop the play and almost just accuse him that he's play acting.
Yeah, that Suarez was a knob as well. Yeah, he was moaning at absolutely everything.
I think that's an overall problem with the way things are at the minute, especially this last week of head injuries in the league as a whole, rather than just that one where you've had people who've been bandaged up, played for another 10 minutes, then can't see and have to come off. And I think, well, you've got the concussion substitutes for a reason. At least use a bit of common sense. And again, the fucking VAR. You can see that he's been elbowed in the head. You can just mark him saying, make sure he's okay. He's been elbowed in the face. It's not hard.
And it's not about should he be sent off and things like that. That's not why you're checking it. It's checking for player welfare, which is video assistant referee. It's the same as if you've got a linesman. That's how I've kind of interpreted it. And to be fair, actually, I've realised I told a lie at the start of the show when I sort of said, Wolves did no more pressing, because they did do one within that sort of first 10 minutes of the second half as well with Connor Cody, who I don't know what was going through his head when he was going for it.
He followed Lacazette, didn't he? That was it. He was pinned to Lacazette, and he because Lacazette was coming really deep, and obviously in this situation he came really deep. So Cody got as far, I think he was having a nosebleed.
Yeah. And you could see as soon as that ball broke, he saw his names in lights. He saw himself as Michael Owen in 1998 at that point. Yeah. And then the ref blew the whistle. And I don't think I've ever seen Connor Cody that angry. He was giving the ref some right pelters.
But you would do, wouldn't you? I mean, again, you threw on goal. Was it 3-on-1 at that point? You threw on goal.
Because the ball came to, I want to say, it just bounced out to Jimenez. So all he needed to do was just play it behind him.
it was one of the worst decisions of the entire season, without a shadow of a doubt. It's like he did it again later on when he blew up, and rather than letting the play go, when they could have had a shot away.
Yeah,
and you think, just referee the game properly. It's not. I mean, if it was, it didn't even look contentious, though, did it? That's the thing. It didn't look like it was.
It looked like a dive straight off.
It looked like he'd thrown himself to the ground.
It looked like he threw himself to the ground, and that's from the TV angle, not directly onto it where he was. And then he just didn't read the situation, did he? And he blew up, think straight away, oh, it's Arsenal. Why would they throw themselves to the ground? And then it can't be reviewed with VAR, can it? So it's just a joke.
Well, that's what you touched on there, Stu. In that scenario, why not? I know, maybe they shouldn't be thinking like this, but, in that situation, definitely they should have. And why not just play on and then, let it play out? If it's a foul, you're going to spot it on VAR. They can bring it back for it.
Yeah.
I mean, to blow up like that with 50-50 at best, like he couldn't have think that was a
because
big
they did
touch.
it in Leeds. They did it in Leeds versus Man U the other week. I think it was like the one on Bruno where it was a strong challenge in the middle of the park, nowhere near a foul. But
exactly,
he lets the play progress, and then they check VAR to see, just seeing if this was actually a foul. And it's just like a little bit of common sense. They
did the Pogba Neves one, didn't they? They did
the
Pogba Neves one against United. They checked that after the goal went in, and then obviously came to the wrong decision like they usually do.
Yeah.
But yeah, use a bit of common sense. I mean, it's like literally the same phase. It would have been like a kick of the ball. See what happens, and if it goes in, then review it if you have to.
We could have scored within literally 2 seconds of that. The referee blowing his whistle, or whenever Ben White goes down, because the ball bounces to our player, one touch into Cody, who composed himself and rifles one in top goals, top corner. That's how it would have panned out in my head. But yeah, so as I said, we had chances. The referee was, and I'm sure Arsenal, as my mentions have shown today, have lots of things to be angry about. Apparently, Jimenez had a high boot. I mean, I think it was.
They got a free kick for it though.
It was exactly. It's a high boot. That's it. Yeah, it's not a red card.
Not every high boot is a. I feel like for Arsenal fans, it felt like it was Van Bommel in the 2010 World Cup, where it's just like no, he just lifted his foot to try and get the ball. It's one of them in it, and. Yeah, and things like it was just an odd second half refereeing performance where he just didn't want to let the game flow, and Wolves were struggling to gain any momentum. Arsenal do pull one back, of course. One of the things I sort of noted about this goal and the other one, I think Tom's, we got a line prepared. Considering the left hand side,
it's Sace's. I mean, we'll come on to the second goal, but Sace's wrong man of his man twice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, ultimately, that's cost us.
I was going to say, and it was the same area we conceded against Leicester as well. There's a little bit of a pattern I could suggest.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to knock Sace after this season. He's had a great season. And he had a couple of good blocks in the first half. And I'm not saying, let's kick him out after one bad game, but he's had a couple of bad moments there, to be honest. I mean, we'll come on to the second one, I'm sure, but like the second one, he gets so tight, so tight, and he just got completely spun. And then Lacazette spins him, and he's away. It's just an error of judgment, I think. Twice really.
Yeah, and to be fair, I thought it was a good finish by Pepe for the first, in terms of how how he's kind of rolled the ball backwards and kept control of it, and I think
he only plays well against us.
Yeah, that was his first league goal of the season, I think.
Yeah, he had that one against last season. It was great that he bent in, from a tight angle.
Well, I was on SVP TV and Arsenal channel doing the preview the other day. And Stephen did a preview. He did a poll.
So sorry.
You set the whole thing up in the first place. They did a poll on there about would you want Pepe starting, and I think it was like 30% saying yes. Yeah. So they don't like him. They don't really rate him there. They don't rate Lacazette either, to be fair. But he's very much out of favour. Like Tom said, apart from when he plays us.
Yeah, I mean. I say going back to sort of my subs point, I guess, obviously our two subs are two players who are coming back from injury, do have a high caliber, all right, I don't think he's worth it, but they signed Pepe for an awful lot of money. And do I fit, I reckon a fully fit Pedro Neto is better than a fully fit Pepe. But yeah, that felt like the slight difference. And they changed formation as well. And they really went for broke bringing him on. I appreciate and that felt right. And, Eddie and Ketka, I think, sets up the goal, who they also brought on as well. So it's proactive changes, which you can't knock, I don't think. And not gonna lie, I did feel a little bit relieved when they scored because the tension was mounting. And I would have settled for a draw at the start of the game and see us concede in the 82nd or whatever it was. I did think, okay, we can breathe a little bit now. And we went forward a couple of times as well. I thought, you know what, see this out. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I think it was about the 94th in the end. And it was heart-wrenching, wasn't it? Because he gives it the big one, Lacazette, as well. And it's an own goal. It's not going in. And I don't even think who's at the back stick. I think it might be Pepe again. I reckon if Sarr doesn't somehow touch it, do you reckon we actually clear it?
I think he would have gone out for a throw-in. I don't think he was going anywhere. But again, there's no blame on Sarr there whatsoever.
It flicks off Sace, actually, doesn't it? It flicks off Sace. If you watch it flicks off Sace's shin just before it gets to Sarr, and obviously you can't react to that. There's no time at all. There's no blame attached to Sarr on that one.
No, I think it's an awkward one to have next to your name because he has to put an arm to it because he doesn't quite know who or what's behind him. So it's always sort of taken a little deflection, but yeah, it did feel personally undeserved.
Yeah,
but,
it's like them ones that hit the post and it hit the back of the neck and go in. It's technically an own goal, but it's not fair. Maybe we need a new pseudonym for it. Unfortunate goal.
It really was, wasn't it? I guess, personally, I said, I think Wolves did enough to get something out of that game. I don't remember Sarr having lots of... He had a solid save in the second half. But bar that, there was a lot of huffing and puffing from Arsenal, in my opinion, but they didn't really carve out as many chances, whereas I felt we had, 4, including Hwang's goal, the 2 Jimenez chances and Hwang's miss, excluding the potential of Cody's, which I can't really count. I don't remember Arsenal having 4 really good chances, but I did score 2 goals, so I'm probably being a little bit, rose-tinted here.
No,
I mean, sorry, Stu, go on, mate.
Well, it's fair. I mean, we had the better chances, no doubt about it. I mean, they even said in commentary about how when you get past one Wolves defender, there's another one right there blocking it over and over again. They had the volume of chances, which were shots from distance, as seems to be the way against us, like Spurs did. But we invited that so much pressure on ourselves again by not changing it up earlier that probably on balance and play, it was probably fair. Regardless of chances, it was probably a fair result on balance and play for me. That's why I was kind of like, well, I can accept when we get beaten, and we probably deserve to be beaten. And that's what it kind of was in the end for me. I was just kind of, okay, you can kind of rule out certain things happening now.
Do you
more
think?
That I think fourth's gone now. I think it's just we'll get on to that in a bit anyway. But I just thought balance of play, they battered us, and it was always going to come. It was sad and unfortunate how it did come in the end, like we just said. But I thought it was fair. I didn't think we did enough to win the game, regardless of the chances that we had. It would have been a proper smash and grab if we had. But I wasn't too distraught, really. It was more kind of like all the cats at West Ham on Sunday. They're going to be deflated after about 10 minutes, and that's kind of what I was feeling afterwards and this morning.
I think maybe a draw. I think a draw wouldn't have been an unfair result. Personally, I think one of the things that's levelled at us at the start of the season was that we were playing pretty well, but we weren't actually creating much. Whereas, we've had the sort of flip of that, I'd say, last night, and maybe, not so much against Leicester because we didn't create too much against them, to be honest. But we are creating chances now. When we are scoring, we scored, quite frequently. I mean, all those 1-0s and 0-0s that we had earlier on, they sort of gone a little bit. The only downside to that is obviously the defence has maybe not been quite as tight recently, and maybe that was what it was last night. I think maybe we were almost backing our defence too much. We'll see this out. We've done it plenty of times already. We'll do it again, and I think you can only have that. Sooner or later, it's going to come and bite you on the arse. But for me, I think maybe a point really. I think it's the same as the first game against Arsenal. I think a point was probably fair there. It's just we've had a 6-point swing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and say Arsenal are in position in the league they're in. There's no shame to lose to Arsenal, so especially with the amount of pressure. It just felt like we slightly just cracked a little bit at the end, and yeah, it was disappointing. It was disappointing, because it's always crap to lose a game in the last minute, but yeah, I didn't think it was quite deserved. And like, if it was a case of Sarr was making all these saves and like, all right, we've finally been breached, then all right, I get it. But yeah, just didn't quite. It might. I don't know. Probably. I don't think we deserve to win. Now I'm looking at it back in hindsight, but I think we could definitely nab the draw. It was a bit of a weird one in terms of doing player ratings and sort of who played well. Because I think a couple were standouts and did stuff really well. But I think because of the type of performance like we've kind of alluded to, it's kind of quite difficult around like a man of the match and, who was sort of a standout. But anyone who was sort of notable for yourselves?
I think we already mentioned him, Semedo. I mean, the game changed when he was removed from the table. He was superb, both going forward and defensively. And I think it's kind of more of a point to say that as soon as he went off, the game changed, and yet you can still give him man of the match, even though he didn't complete all the minutes.
Yeah.
So I think by default, I'd say Semedo.
Yeah, I mean, you said standout. There weren't many standouts, were there? So no one was above a 7. Maybe Semedo potentially, but Pedence was good in spells. I thought Hwang generally actually did quite well. I know I had a little not, sort of digging him at the start. Some of the stuff, but I think his movement was good. I do think he offers us a little, something a little bit different. And considering it's his first, like you said, Rich's first start for quite a while, I think by and large he did all right. He faded near the end, but that's sort of expected really.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, and to be fair, I think Hwang is great in the opposition's half and even better in the opposition's box. Whether I'd want him getting it anywhere near our box is a completely different matter.
You've nailed it there, Rich. That's perfect summarisation for me.
He's one of them, isn't he? And all right, it might not necessarily suited to football in 2022 because he is a bit of a bagsman, isn't he? Where it's just like, you know what, I do well 8 yards out from goal. That is where I shine. And if all Wolves need to do is just work out how to get him and the ball into those positions, we're set. But we'll see. We're going to take a short break, guys. We'll be back after the lovely ads to talk a little bit about West Ham, a bit about fixtures, changes, and people coming back to the UK after a stint over in Murica. We'll be back right after this. Hi, it's Richard from Wolves Fancast here. Just interrupting today's show before we get back to some questionable opinions and opinionated questions to talk to you a little bit about our sponsors, Pixel Yeti Media. They are a design agency that put you and your business first, from web design, logo and branding design and marketing. If you have any marketing needs, get in touch with them to find out how they can help you get it right. They are over at pixelyetimedia.com. Now let's get back to a show where we can give you some really forced wordplay, niche cultural references, and maybe even a bit of football talk. Hello, welcome back everybody. So 2 bits of news I wanted to cover with you guys before we dived into the next upcoming game, because they're coming thick and fast. Firstly was the news about the rearranged Newcastle fixture, which I don't quite understand for the life of me, A, why it's been moved, and B, why it's been moved to a Friday night. Stu, I know you're a away day regular. Are you planning a trip up to Tyneside on a Friday night?
I don't know, and that's the point with all this. That at least this time we have plenty of notice, relatively speaking, compared to the recent rearranged ones. But yeah, it's just a pain in the arse. I mean, you going up to Newcastle, which is not a short journey anyway. And Sky do see, like we were talking beforehand, that I mean tonight, Southampton, Norwich, that's not an easy trip. That's not short. I mean, you've had Bournemouth going up to Middlesbrough on a Saturday morning this season as well. It's just, I mean, we know they don't care about fans anyway, and they just take the piss. But it's just, I mean, who really wants to watch Newcastle Wolves on a Friday night other than Newcastle Wolves fans? And it can't be that big a draw from really, surely. And it just messes the whole weekend up because you get back, 2:00 Saturday morning at the earliest. You'll be knackered anyway. If you've got kids, then you're going to have, 4 hours, 5 hours sleep. Then that's the whole Saturday ruined. And then you're left with Sunday and then back to work Monday. So your whole weekend is kind of destroyed because we have to go to Newcastle on a Friday night and not to have fun. I mean, if you make a weekend of it and you go up the big market straight after the game, then brilliant. But that's a very small percentage of Wolves fans, I'd imagine now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, when you sort of said sort of before, it even if you make it into like a weekend of it, it's still annual leave, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's, and to be fair, it's 6 weeks until the game? I think it's 8th of April it's moved to. Yeah, it's just bonkers. Tom, are you fancying the trip or?
Yeah, well, this is it. Oh, I don't think I'll be able to get the time off work. This is the
Yeah.
thing, but I don't know what the criteria is for what makes something a Friday game rather than a Sunday game. If you had to look at, I'm sure there'll be 2 fixtures arranged for the Sunday, but I bet they're closer teams together than the Wolves and Newcastle. So I genuinely don't know if they think about it at all. Genuinely,
Yeah.
as Stu said, I mean, fans are the last thing on their mind. Let's face it.
Because it's about 200 miles from Wolverhampton to Newcastle as well. And I think one of my sort of thoughts around it was, surely just make it like a rule of thumb that for a night game, doesn't matter, if it's a Tuesday night one in the Championship or, it's getting moved in the Prem, like it needs to be within, I don't know, a 2-hour journey. Because at least then you're in theory getting back before midnight, of which it's somewhat respectable to crack on with your day, and you can leave work at 4:00 and get away with one. But yeah,
the 2 games on the Sunday at Norwich Burnley, that's not that far.
Yeah.
And Man City Liverpool, which obviously that's going to be Super Sunday, but
Yeah.
Norwich Burnley again. What is the difference between them?
Norwich to Burnley is 20 miles more than it is Wolverhampton to Newcastle. It's about an hour. It's about 45 minutes longer because it always takes 45 minutes longer to get anywhere from Norwich. But yeah, I say something needs to change on it because, if we're playing, I don't know, even like Everton or whatever on a Friday night, I reckon you could cope with that, or more for London teams because you could get just about back at same time for midnight. But yeah, a bit frustrating for a bit of a nothing game. We're competing for Europe, they're competing for relegation. If it was against like a European rival, then maybe, but otherwise, Other bit of news that's broken today is Kevin Thelwell's back in England as the new director of football at Everton. For once, do we think that's actually a good decision by Everton?
It's annoyingly a good decision by Everton. I mean, we haven't had the transfer windows since he's left have not been great, have they? Let's be honest. So, and he kind of got unfairly scapegoated because it seemed every British and Irish player at the time when he was here was, it's a farewell signing rather than a Mendes signing, which we know wasn't true. And the whole 3,000, 6,000, whatever it was, list of players that we have he came out with. He did for what his jobs were here, he did a really good job. And obviously he got headhunted to go over to America. So unless it's something where he's homesick and that's why he's come back and the Everton job's open because they're a shambles, they've got an annoyingly decent appointment there, and one which you hope won't bite us or come to affect us in any way. But my gut feeling this afternoon when I saw that was, oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, he can't do any worse than the previous claims they've had in that job.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of money they've pissed away. Yeah, that's if they have any money to spend with him. But like, so he's not got a hard act to follow, has he? So he'll probably do himself all right there, I guess.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think the other side of it, Wolves / him under Wolves have been sort of fairly savvy in terms of, getting rid of players as well. And, Farewell was around the Wolves for quite a while. So, from Everton's point of view, it's going to be about unloading some players so it can actually fit a new regime in. And I think it's low key enough that if a worse happens to Everton, they get relegated. They've got someone who's probably not asking for as much money as someone who's demanding top tier value. So I think it's a very shrewd move by Everton. Whether they'll listen to him, they'll spend 30 million on another inconsistent midfielder. Time will tell. But going on to Sunday, I thought of a link and I was going to try and do with David Moyes, and then I've decided against it, which is why I did a massive pause there. I thought it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But we are playing West Ham at the weekend. We can overtake them with a win. We're 2 points behind them with a game in hand. They do have superior goal difference, which doesn't really impact sort of this fixture. I mean, just from the win against Arsenal, that's kind of propelled them into that position, I guess, to compete for fourth, whereas it feels like we're competing for fifth at this point, fifth downwards, as it were. I mean, looking at the table, guys, I mean, Stu, you've sort of said that the long distance dream of fourth's gone.
Yeah.
Is that sort of mainly with the games in hand other teams have as well? Well, particularly Arsenal have as well, and our goal difference.
Yeah, I think like Tom said earlier, that 6 point swing they've had over us in the last couple of weeks has kind of screwed us over with Arsenal now. I mean, for them to have a game in hand on us and a 5 point advantage at this stage, it'd take a monumental Arsenal level collapse. With the form that they're in, for us to catch them, and for us to go on and run like we have been at taking the Arsenal games away. So it's like I've said for all along. I mean, fourth always seemed a bit of a pipe dream to me, anyway. Just for that reason that you are asking a lot of a team of players who are not Champions League level, barring a couple, and everyone else to be not as consistent, and I just never thought it was going to happen. And now, you're looking at that, and yeah, Man United have a game in hand on us, but that's 3 points, even if we do beat Watford, which is our game in hand, and I just can't see really. So now it is the battle for fifth, so to speak. Fifth and sixth is there for the taking, really, because for that same reason, everyone else is really inconsistent. West Ham, us, Spurs. Probably Arsenal will be there at the top of that pile, but I think Sunday's now even more massive than it would have been if we'd won, in a weird way, because if we lose against West Ham, it's kind of is that the dream over? Being 5 points away from them then as well. You just not lose a draw at least now, I think, on Sunday, and we'll be happy with that probably. Just to keep us in touchy distance, especially after the the level of performance and the amount of running that was done last night, he's not really going to rotate probably as much as we think. So
no Semedo as well.
No Semedo as well. And I know we have done this before when Arsenal beat us on the Thursday and then we went to Spurs and won. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility to do the same again against West Ham. But the energy levels just seem to be sapped and everyone just looked completely devastated to the end. And if he gets them back from that quickly, then he's a genius. But I just think it was so sapping, both mentally and physically. I think a draw would be a great result come Sunday now.
Yeah, I mean, I said I wanted sort of 9 points out of the 5 games, so I got 6 after 4. So, yeah, a win would be 9, which I'd have taken at the start. But I made a massive mistake yesterday because I looked at the table at half time. I don't know if anyone else did, but I tell you what, it looked great at half time. But yeah, that was painful. But I think, I mean, Spurs are in free fall. West Ham are no great. They're not in great form. They've got a few players out of form. They've got the cup to concentrate on as well. Make a bit more concerted effort on the cups. United, we know about United how inconsistent they are. So I think, 5th, 6th, definitely on. And yeah, like I think what Stu said, I think probably now maybe you probably would take a point. Going into Sunday.
Yeah, it just feel almost. I mean, we're saying this on Friday night. Maybe Sunday morning we feel slightly differently, but it feels very much more of a must not lose rather than a must win. Just keep that status quo for another week and just stay in the fight a little bit longer because there's still plenty of football to be played. It's not like we're on 35 games into the season. But it does sort of remind me very much more, back in the Championship days, to be honest, that when you're competing high up at the table, you're looking at, oh, well, if this team lose and this team lose and we, if all these teams lose 2 games and we win 2 games, and then you go, that only works if you're in the bottom half of the table because all these teams don't do that, good teams don't lose 2-3 games in a row, do they?
No.
And that's the difference, isn't it?
I mean, they're saying like I've got a nice run of fixtures now, but I don't necessarily buy that. I don't know if it's you said on a previous podcast, Stu, that are you more confident West Ham away than you would be, say, or sorry, more confident say Palace at home than you would be West Ham away or something like. I mean, like Burnley away. I mean, how hard does that look now? No, they've found their feet. Yeah, go on, mate.
I was going to say, I mean, it's guaranteed that we'll lose to either Burnley or Palace because when Palace had our number earlier in the season anyway. I mean, like we've said about the teams that press high against us, we still don't have an answer for. So I've got no confidence about Palace at home whatsoever. And it's maybe it's 28 years worth of Wolves suffering, and it's kind of drilled into our psyche that we kind of expect to lose against the shitter teams. But yeah, Burnley away is. I mean, it's awful anyway, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can just see something like that putting a spanner in the works.
Yeah, you don't want to be playing against the teams fighting for their lives. I don't think. I don't say this nice run of fixtures. I don't buy it, to be honest. I think, I'm just as confident West Ham away as I would be, like you say, Palace at home, to be honest.
I think that's the thing because, West Ham have plenty to go for in the league, and obviously they're still in. I was going to say the UEFA Cup, which it isn't. But they're still competing on more than one front. Be interesting to sort of see how they line up on Sunday, as it will be with Wolves as well, because we know that Semedo is going to be out. But do you see any other changes as well? Do we see starts for a bit of a change of that front line as well, which was a bit ineffective in certain parts yesterday?
I know what I'd go for.
Go on, let's hear your lineup, Stu.
I'd take Raul out and go 3-5-2 with Dendoncker in and have Hwang and Pedence up front. Just because I think what let's just get right. What is the point in persisting with him in the form that he's in at the minute? I mean, he's what we discussed earlier about his attitude with the when he missed that Gilted's chance. Yeah, he's done a couple of things here and there with it, like in an assist for Neves last week, but his overall game, Raul's overall game since, Southampton away was probably the last time he had a consistently good game from start to finish for me, and that's months ago. And
West Ham at home was one. I think I remember him playing pretty well at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been in spells at best. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there was a few points on Twitter last night saying if Fabio had put the performances in that Raul Jimenez has put in, he'd been hung, drawn, and quartered by now. Just because he's got credit in the bank, and I said it's almost like the cult of Nuno again, where you don't want to criticise someone who's done wonderful things for us in the past, but now when it's blatantly obvious that something's not right, it's right for everyone to change it up. And what it's not going to do him any harm sitting on the bench for a few weeks, thinking about things and maybe refocusing himself, because Fabio's done nothing wrong when he's played. They're the exact opposite, especially at Old Trafford. So he's shown in big games that he can put himself about. So just give the kid a chance. If we're going to go with 3, I would take him out. I'll be putting him on the bench straight away. But because of how we played yesterday, I just think bringing back a 3-man midfield, at least to start with, is probably the right way to go. Just to calm things down again, and just have a base to start off with. Let alone me being emotionally drained, it must have affected them as well. So, I would go with a midfield 3, just to get back on track a little bit.
How about you, Tom?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with any of that, to be honest. I'm just trying to remember how we set up against them at home, because I thought that was a really good performance. I remember that being quite a complete performance, a nice 90 minutes from us. But it's hard to argue against a 3-man midfield. I'm not overly convinced with Hwang in a 2. Did we see that at Villa? Was it Villa? He played up front on his own.
Yeah,
it didn't work. But again, okay, we've only seen it once. But if we're doing a 2, I'd probably be more inclined to put Fabio up there with Pedence, even though I do like Hwang and he's a threat. But Pedence and Fabio have done all right as a 2 before, so it wouldn't be against that.
Yeah, in the first fixture, we went 3-4-3 with Podence, Hwang, and Jimenez up front.
Right, okay.
Which, and to be fair, they played a midfield 3 of Rice, Souček, and Ben Rama. So I'm not as worried as I was against Arsenal in terms of us needing extra body, because I think there's a slight levels difference. I'd probably go for the extra man in midfield, whether it's Dendoncker plus 2. And I think, I could even see someone like Kundal maybe starting and resting Moutinho maybe. Just for just from a fitness point of view, and just making sure everyone's ticking over, to be honest. And yeah, it's tricky. And again, you've got a decision at right wing back as well, because Hoover's not been on the bench for the last few games. It's been Johnny. Now, just start Johnny and sort of, see if he will do the job over 90 minutes rather than sort of dropped in at the deep end, because I don't think he'd have been expected to have come on yesterday anyway. But, there's a decision to be made there as well. So I think, I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be an interesting lineup, and I kind of hope that they don't go for a damage limitation, because I do think we can get at West Ham. I'm just a little anxious at this point in time. We don't quite have the confidence levels, but I think Bruno's sort of shown himself enough this season that he's not the most risk-averse manager in the world, is he?
No.
Like he seems to like to pull a fast one, and even when it comes to formation as well, where it's like, oh yeah, we've gone 3-5-2 and we're playing Donk, but he's also going to be playing the second striker technically, so I like to pull a bit of that. So I feel like by Sunday, my head will have been turned to be a bit more optimistic and think he's got a plan here. But we'll see. Do we want to try and do score predictions, or are we not emotionally prepared for it?
a 20-10 on Friday night, I'd go one each.
No, I was going to go one each. I'll go on. I'm going to be optimistic. I'll go 1-0. 1-0 Wolves.
I'm going to go 0-0. And I think everything I've just said, I think we'll just cancel each other out, and both teams will be knackered. And, just see it through. And then we can all live to fight another day. Right, let's round off the show with some questions from Twitter Corner. There's quite a few doubles because, to be fair, Dan did put out one serious, one silly. So usually my annoyance about people giving me 2 questions, I've got to subside for a week. This one's only one, thankfully. It's from Joe. Your opinions on Arsenal fans on Twitter? Most disrespectful. Yeah, I can say it. I'm allowed to say it because I can put censors. I can just mark not suitable for children. Most disrespectful twats on the platform. Plus, Ramsdale is so overrated. I mean, as an admin on the Wolves Fancast Twitter account, I'm very glad I don't have notifications set up for, whenever someone mentions, because I had a look earlier and good grief for, at Saka season, I don't just bombarded all day with absolute bullshit from little Arsenal FT accounts. They are genuinely the worst I've seen this season. Them in Chelsea, maybe, but by far the weirdest and vocal fan base on Twitter I found this season.
Yeah, I mean, you said that we going to make this podcast not suitable for children, and a lot of the Arsenal fans on Twitter are not suitable for children either, because some of that is deviant behaviour at best, and they're just fucking arseholes. Let's call them what they are. They're witty. The whole it must be the Arsenal fan TV thing. It's affected them all. It's got in their minds because they all act the same. It's either it's this big conspiracy against Arsenal or good old Arsenal, and this weird superiority complex they have over everyone when they've been absolutely shit for 15 years. And
yeah,
you think, well, where's this all come from? You never used to be like this. And fair play, there is some normal ones, but on Twitter, that's a cesspit of the world anyway. It just heightens everything for everyone, and Arsenal fans just seem to be there all the time. And whenever you try and criticise anything or you say anything remotely bad about them, it's like snappy turtle all over your face. It's straight away. Just really weird behaviour.
Yeah, and I get that, you get little echo chambers and not, fans aren't necessarily represented in the, small circle that you sometimes see. And Wolves Twitter's similar. That it doesn't necessarily represent the view of a wider audience. But fuck me, it's been weird today looking at it. And I know what you're saying, Stu, is that saying, oh, it's probably only been in recent years. I'm going to hark back to my dad. I said before show, my dad had an irrational hatred of Arsenal because, in the 70s, they'd throw coins and stuff like that because they were rich Londoners. And, I'm going to burn so many bridges, so I'm not careful, aren't I? But I know, not something not quite right with that fan base, I'm telling you. And I'm a Wolves fan, so I know enough about, wrong fan bases. Right, let's do... Okay, right. We got a 2-1. We got a serious one and a silly one, and I like them both, Andy Smith. So, will Raul still be at Wolves next season? And if so, will he be the main man up top? And the second question is, what's your favourite gadget that you own?
I think Raul will be here next year. I think, is anyone going to take a punt on him? He may, maybe he's got, sort of MLS, I wouldn't say aspirations, but it seems like that's where he might end up at some point. But no, I think he will be here. Whether it be the main man, I think it's up for debate. I think Bruno wants another striker. He's been pretty vocal about that. I think he wants another. He says another option up top, but I think Raul's profile probably fits the system reasonably well. But yeah, he's not in form at the moment.
Yeah, he ain't been the same since he came back. Matt Jansen effect, as I called it earlier. which is to be expected. But we can't keep saying, "Oh, because of his injury." I mean, it was over a year and a bit ago now. It's done and dusted. It is what it is now. He's had over half a season to get used to playing with a headband on. If he's not going to be at the same level, then we have to move him on, and MLS playing for, or Chivas or whatever. Then so be it. But he can't, unless he gets some form back. He can't be our starting striker next season. He just can't be. And I know we don't spend money anyway, which is a pain in the arse, but we can't be relying on someone who's not producing. We just can't. I mean, gadget-wise, and this little Subutio bottle opener, this is useful.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But probably PS5 though.
Would you class the PS5 as a gadget?
Well, it depends. It's on the gadget show, so
true. I'd give you that. See, when I think gadget, I'm thinking like more handheld, but I'm open to interpretations as well.
It's throwing me now. I can't think of any handheld gadgets.
You're thinking of some novelty nonsense here, which I would probably be the one to ask about. But
well, and to be fair, actually, no, I tell you, like, because the gadget I was thinking of for me is I've got a Bluetooth headband. So like, because I like to listen to stuff when I go to sleep, so it can act as an eye mask and still listen to stuff, as I don't have wires dangling about, or I don't lose earbuds in the duvet and fall asleep on one of them. So you
look like something out of Star Trek Next Generation. Is this what you're saying?
Or Jimenez?
Yeah, I look more like. I'd like to say I look more like Jimenez. But if I was so inclined, I could, as the photos demonstrate, I could like go for a run or play tennis whilst wearing it if I want to, or you can use it as an eye mask. I don't tend to use it as an eye mask personally, but it's what keeps my hair so in shape as well. I'm just baiting you with his voice. Yeah. Right. Shall I do another question? Couple of questions. Right. 2-in-1 question. Right, the contributor. So 2-in-1 question. During Newcastle versus West Ham, Chris was apparently meowing at Kurt Zouma during the game to wind him up. Given what Kurt Zouma's actually did and been punished for, is it a fair game or is it a step too far, baiting him like that? Likewise, would you tell Wolves to do the same on Sunday if you were Bruno?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely not a step too far. He deserves everything he gets.
Yeah.
And the bloke who he came from did actually admit that he made the whole thing up as well.
That's annoying. Oh,
yeah.
I remember texting it to my mates and saying, I hope this is true. It's just one of those things that, that's a shame.
It did feel too good to be true in a way, though, didn't it?
Like Woods had the Dyche effect as well, so I've got no doubt that stuff like that happens. It's just it did seem like it could have been true. I'm gutted it's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot worse that would have been said to him over the last few weeks, and hopefully forever. Yeah,
and I think the problem is there's something quite light-hearted about a grown man meowing into another grown man.
Yeah.
Like, we've probably all been on a football pitch. We've probably all used certain choice language to describe people and stuff like that. And we all do our little things to wind up people. But I'm trying to imagine a corner just like Connor Cody. It wouldn't be
Pedence or Sace.
Pedence would give.
You'd have to get Zuma to kneel down a bit to get to his ear. But other than
that, yeah, one of them maybe, but yeah, I can imagine doing some really heavy cat puns maybe as well. That's the other option. So, do I think it's too far? No, and I also think it's still it's still recent enough to give him stick for it. We're even for a year's time, things will have moved on. But no, he still deserves as much abuse as he's going to get for me personally. Right, last question is from Nag. And I thought this was a good one. Nice one to end it on. With it being Pancake Day next week, what do I need to get to go with my pancake? So, guys, what are your go-tos for Pancake Day?
Sugar and lemon. That's all. That's all you need.
It's classic.
That is classic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Banana and Nutella.
Yeah.
That's a good combo. Or peanut butter. Has anyone done that one yet? Peanut butter is not the worst.
Yeah. I mean, I'm potentially a heathen for this, but I tend to make the American pancakes instead of, the really flat, thin ones. I like to,
About an inch deep.
Yeah. Have a bit of substance. So I'll do that with some bacon and maple syrup. And you know what? It's a bit of extra effort because it's, doing some bacon at the same time. Stu, say what you're going to say.
I don't need to say a thing, do I?
I'm telling you, it's far nicer.
Do you get the best china out as well and cut it into little square, little quarters?
No, but I do have whipped cream as well. So like, I
Yeah,
might
what about
make
the pancakes?
I was going to say I might make a smiley face, but the kids in the back corner. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think if I've seen any that just seem a bit odd. Nutella's a good one. Nutella on the thin pancakes, and you're almost making like a crepe, aren't you? Yeah. I'd get on board with that quite nicely. But honestly, for what is essentially one ingredient different, like just make the American ones. That's my opinion, anyway. But we'll compare pancakes, and we'll see who's. But yeah, bacon. Like, what meal isn't improved by bacon?
Anything?
Yeah, I still haven't tried it with the pancake. I have to try it. It's so fair. I can't knock it. I haven't tried it.
It works.
I haven't tried it yet.
It works, especially with a bit of maple syrup, like a bit of sugar as well. It works. I know it's American, but they do occasionally get things right. Like Kevin Felwell.
Yeah, but they're at Denny's. Denny's in America, you got this thing called the lumberjack slam. I don't know if you heard of that. So that's like a fry up, but then you get like a side of pancakes.
Ooh.
That's a way of combining it, but you don't actually physically have the bacon on the pancake.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. Yeah, lumberjack slam. I'm guessing they still do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, I reckon I'd be brave enough to like mix my fry up with pancakes because you do it with bread and stuff. I know I'm going wildly off tangent now. I'd give it a go. So you have like fried bread.
Yeah, I just ate the fry up and then had the pancakes as like a little bit of a dessert.
Yeah, I was gonna say
so I didn't really combine it very well.
I'm trying to imagine literally getting it from one plate to the other. Like, do you mix it in with your egg? Or your beans. Like, I can't imagine that mixing with,
Nah.
But it works with bacon. But I was going to say that I will end it with that. I'll take photos as well for Stu, and I know you'll sit there with your lemon and sugar. But we'll call it quits on there, guys. Big thanks to everyone who's listened. We'll be back Monday evening to talk about the game against West Ham. Hopefully it'll be Wolves back to winning ways. Big shout out to 90 Min Football Network and our sponsors Pixel Yeti Media. Go check them out at pixelyetimedia.com. Go check us out on all our socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, to keep up to date with all the latest Wolves, lols and trolls. And until next time, it's goodbye from Tom.
See you, Wolves fans.
It's goodbye from Stu.
Meow.
And it's goodbye from me. See you next time.